Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the program. I'm your host, Dave Crace. Today I'll be speaking with Mr. Roger Vienneau of Bathurst. He has a unique hobby. He is a gunsmith. Good afternoon and welcome to the program, sir.
Hi, Dave.
How long have you been a gunsmith?
Oh, approximately 25 years, Dave.
And how did you first get started?
Oh, it was just a love of guns and shooting, hunting, and it always seemed to interest me, and I started building them to suit myself in later years and changing a few things that I didn't particularly like on the sporting rifles.
Right. Do you find that the style of the guns has changed over the 25-year period since you've been involved with it, or is it the same type of style?
No, it has changed quite a bit. Stock designs have changed, actions, different calibers, and different things that have changed in guns to make them better, I would say.
Now today we're going to hopefully go through the aspects of how you go about making a gun. Now you have one already set up for us. First of all, what is your first step when you get an order, and how do you take it from there?
Well, first step, Dave, I would choose the wood, and then I would measure the customer so the gun would fit him. By using this very simple little gadget, which is adjustable in all ways, tilt, forward, rear, and this would also give your arm length. This here would give your drop at your comb and your heel by bringing this up or down. Now, if I fitted that to where it feels the most comfortable, bend it so forth and lock it, I can take this and build you a gun that will fit you perfectly.
Now, from this design that you have set up here and this piece of equipment, you made that yourself, did you not?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
And would that be a standard piece of equipment most gunsmiths would use?
Yes, it's something like one you can buy. I more or less copied it, but added this movable barrel on top, which is just a tube. What I do then is this would be actually your sight plane right here, and this would become above your stock, see? So I would sit this on here. This would give me your length. This would give me the drop of the comb and the heel, and this would give me the pitch where the pistol grip fits you best.
Right.
Then I would cut this out into a stock, which you see here, and this is the drop that I demonstrated here. And then this here would have to be cut at the proper length for your butt pads, so on and so forth. This particular stock here is a thumb hole where your thumb goes through it. I'll show you later what I mean by that. Then you would add end caps, grip caps, butt caps, inlays, whatever the customer desires.
Now, this weapon you have set up here, first of all, what is the caliber, and who would this be designed for?
This is a 7mm Remington Magnum. It's on a Model 110C Action, and it's been built for Mr. Mike Roy from Northwest Territories. It was sent to me by mail. Mike is an old friend that dropped in here one time and seen my work, and he's presently working in Northwest Territories, and he sent me this to have done for himself. This particular wood is bird's eye maple. He was very fond of it. It has a lot of knots in it and waves, burrows, so on and so forth, and it's very pretty when it's finished in its natural form. I also use other woods. I use walnut. I use rosewood, bobinga. I have some zebra, whatever is suitable.
How long would it take to make a gun?
I've never really figured it out, but because I'll sometimes work at it 3-4 hours and get tired of it and leave it go for sometimes 2-3 days, and it's not really something you can do in one shot. You really have to feel like doing it to put yourself into it, you see.
Now, obviously, this is more of a hobby than a full-time job for you?
That's correct, yeah.
Why couldn't you stay with it, let's say, for 8 hours a day? What would be the reasons behind that?
Well, it's all tedious little work, eh? And the way I'm doing it is, it's all pretty well by hand, with hand tools. And if you had maybe tools, machine tools to do it, which would save you all this tedious little jobs, you sure could go ahead on it. But the way it is there, you sort of get tired of it.
The stock itself, would that be the most important part of the weapon?
As far as fitting the stock, I'd say it is. If the gun don't fit you, it doesn't matter what gun you have. If it don't fit you, it's not really good for you. You will tend to shoot high, low, or it will kick you if it's not well built. It'll chafe your cheeks, whatever. But if the gun is properly fitted to you, you'll find it much more comfortable to shoot.
Now, a lot of people that hunt are familiar with the term, I guess, balancing a gun. What can you tell me about that?
Well, the balancing the gun is exactly what I was pretty well telling you, is to fit it. After that, if the gun tends to be muzzle heavy, you would tend to maybe route out under the barrel to remove some wood, to try to bring it that it's level at the point where you carry it the most comfortably, see? And if it is butt heavy, making it laid here, you would hollow in here and then cover it when you put your butt pad. But you could hollow this whole section. You can drill it out until the gun feels that it's not forcing your wrist to hold it down or forcing your wrist to hold it up, you see, when you're carrying it. Then, of course, the fit itself, when you bring it up, the gun feels good, it balances well, and that's the way you do it.
The barrel and the bolt, if the gun happens to take one, do you make that yourself, or do you have to order the parts for that?
I ordered the barrel and the action, and place it on the stock of my own design, or whatever the customer would like. This particular barreled action here, I was saying a 110 Savage, and this is what a barreled action looks like. Now you can buy this particular piece from different suppliers in different models, different makes, and different calibers. Now as you see, this is being fitted down to this action.
What is a thumbhole stock?
Well, a thumbhole stock, well, this is a thumbhole stock, and I'll show you. You see, I have a little hole, or a little line drawn out here where the hole is going to be. And it's going to go right through the stock here. Now my thumb will go into here. My finger grips will be filed out of here, so the gun fits me real good at the hand. Being in a straight grip like this, it prevents the roll on the gun. You have a better control of it. Plus, with your thumb into this hole, hold your hand straight like so. When the gun recoils, it tends to kick on your arm and not your cheek or your shoulder. The weight of your arm will take most of the recoil, so it makes it very comfortable to shoot, especially in big calibers. And another thing, it's very nice when you do standing shooting. You can really hold that gun steadier than the conventional type stock, because you have a much better control of the grip than you do on an ordinary hunting rifle.
How did you come up with that design?
A friend and I, this is back in the 50s, we used to do a competition shooting. This was at the old International Harvester Gun Club in Hamilton, Ontario. And we got talking about different grips, and why wouldn't we put a hole through it? And when everybody thought it was a foolish idea, but once we had one made, of course the first ones weren't anything to look at. Once we had one made, the idea was good, you know. It really felt good shooting competition with them. So, you know, through the years I just kept adding a little bit of different things to them, and then, of course, cosmetically I started to put little inlays in the side and inlays in here and different caps, so on and so forth. And so it turned out to what I've showed you a while ago. It's rather a pretty thing too, you know, than just a gun stock.
Do you ever design the stock the same, or is it always different for each gun that you are building?
Well, if you were to put them in a mold, I don't think I ever made two the same. It would be awfully hard to do. But basically they all look alike. But again, I don't think two of them would have the same measurements, and different woods, different inlays. But basically the same, really.
Now, from the barrel itself to the part where the bolt goes in for the bolt action, can you in any way change the construction of the barrel by tapering it down any, or do you touch something like that?
Oh yes, you can buy barrels by itself. Really, you can buy a barrel in a blank, or you can get them in up to 1.5 inches in diameter and 28 inches in length here. Then you would taper it to whatever contour you would like on a lathe, which I do right here, and you would thread it here, fit it onto your action, chamber it, and it must be head spaced with the bolt. It must have a perfect head space, because this can greatly affect your accuracy of your gun. And this is something that it's really tedious little work to do it right. I'm very fussy when I do this little particular job. I don't want to be bothered by. And because the head spacing should come within a thou or 0 to 2 thou, I think at the most, is the allowable tolerances.
Now, how is the barrel mounted to the stock? How is it connected there? Can you maybe show us? Is it screwed on or what?
Yes, the barrel is screwed on. I was looking if I had one to show you. This barrel at this point here is threaded to fit this particular receiver. It's threaded, and then the depth so it will meet the face of your bolt. You do your roughing, chambering before you put it in here. Then you do your finishing to do your head spacing till you get it just right. You can use different methods of checking your head space so you have it perfectly fitted. I can show you a barrel. This is a rather large barrel. It's a .308 caliber, and it's going to be placed on this P17 action. Now this is going to become a competition rifle. It's a target grade. This barrel here has been threaded, as you can see, on the lathe, and it's had a rough chambering, and it's going to be screwed in like so. Till the head of the barrel shank meets the bolt face, that is. And then the chambering will be finished so I get the proper head spacing. The head spacing is very critical in a target rifle.
Now, is that when it comes down to like detailed work on the inside? Is that the next step for you then?
That's correct, yeah. Then I will take this back onto the lathe, and I will take an engine grinder, and I will grind the contour here to match this contour here, and then target sights will be placed on it, and then it will be put onto a stock similar to this, which is a tomahawk stock, but much larger, because you want a bigger grip and more wood for weight and so on and so forth.
Does this type of work ever get frustrating when you get down to little details like that?
Yeah, it does sometimes. It's quite frustrating. For instance, you have a piece of wood here that's been chosen for this particular stock, It's bird's eye and it's a fancy grade. It's been drying for about 3 years for the purpose. And at least a slip with a router or a knife or a chisel and you could bang down the drain, you see, and that gets quite frustrating sometimes.
How much would it cost for a piece of wood like that?
Different grades run up to different prices. You can pay up to $1,000 for a piece of wood, and I wouldn't reluct to say even more. But this particular piece is not a $1,000 piece, but you could pay up to $30, $40 for just a blank piece of wood. Now, if you bought it in a semi-finished blank, you could pay up to $200, and depending on what work has been done on it.
Now, where do you get the wood to? Do you get this yourself, or do you have it ordered in and pick it up, or what?
Most woods I order in from different companies. This particular wood is our local bird's eye maple, and during the summer months I'll stop in here and there and check their wood piles, and now and then you find a real nice piece. Bird's eye is not a plentiful wood. It's probably one tree in 10,000 that you'll get bird's eye from.
Now, when you refinish that, will the full grain come out on that piece of wood, and will it be a lot darker than the color right now?
That's correct, Dave. When I refinish this, you actually see the grain and all the little bird's eye in it. And it actually looks nicer in its natural form with no stains or whatever. You see it better and it's kind of pretty. But you can stain it to darker forms. You can use different finishes on it and whatsoever.
Now, we have, to your right, several guns and rifles that are very unique. It has your design. And what can you tell our viewers about some of those guns down there?
Well, Dave, I'll show you what is just a plain military rifle.
That's very beautiful.
This is a German Mauser 98, and it's chambered into a 308. As you notice, the barrel's been tapered and recontoured for weight, balance. It's had a rollover cheek rest, butt pad, and little end caps put on. It's got a tapered down forend. Makes it a very nice light hunting rifle.
Now, do you use this weapon very much for hunting?
I've never